This is a production of SDPB.
We knew everybody in the town, everybody knew you. You got in trouble and your parents knew before you got home. The classic be home before the lights are on in town. And it was great to live in a town where I had a grocery store, I had some restaurants, and of course the famous bakery.
Centerville's special. They just, how the community sticks together and everybody's on the same team, it seems like.
Our community is like amazing.
Join our crew as we meet the people of Centerville.
Greetings from Centerville.
Greetings from Centerville.
That was it. That was perfect.
Greetings from Centerville.
Greetings from Centerville.
Greetings from Centerville.
Greetings from Centerville.
Greetings from Chic Boutique by Kristen and Company.
Greetings from Catalyst Tattoo here in Centerville.
Greetings from Centerville.
Greetings from Centerville. Welcome to Centerville's Tuffys Bar and Grill.
Greetings from Centerville. Greetings from Centerville.
Oh, you guys nailed it. That's awesome. Thank you.
Dakota Life, Greetings from Centerville, is supported with your membership in the Friends of SDPB. Thank you. With help from Centerville Development Corporation, presenting Harvest Point Housing Development, where rural living and access to jobs, shopping, and entertainment meet. Harvest Point offers standard lots and 3/4 acre parcels surrounded by pasture and farmland. And by Hefty Seed Company and their Hefty brand 40 Series corn, approved for planting in 40-degree soil. Hefty supports the families and communities they serve in South Dakota and 11 other ag states. Hefty Seed, agronomy, answers, yield.
Donors to the Explore South Dakota Fund support the production of local documentaries and other programs of local interest presented by SDPB. Friends of SDPB appreciates their support of this program.
Hello, South Dakota. Welcome to Dakota Life. And greetings from Centerville. Halfway between Yankton and Sioux Falls on the stage route, and halfway between Parker and Vermilion on the U.S. mail route, is where Dr. Frederick Smith and his wife staked a claim, started a store, and hung a lantern out every night to guide travelers. Soon, he was named postmaster, and the new settlement, Centerville. But before the railroad arrived in 1883, the town site was moved to the banks of the Vermilion River, where the ice harvested was so pristine, it was sold and shipped as far away as California. The rest of the year, the river powered the economy through a dam and a large flour mill that brought in farmers from as far away as Iowa and Nebraska, with grain to grind and money to spend. Under Centerville's first elected mayor, W.E. Egie, buildings were erected and business boomed, making it a great place for a photographer like John Johnson to set up shop. Today, his work gives us a glimpse into early day life here. And some of his primary subjects were the first kids lucky enough to grow up in Centerville. Under the mural of Tuffy the Tornado, we meet two of the Tornado's biggest fans, Kelly Vogue and Gene Munson Smith.
I think we have a lot of community support. We're really into sports. And of course, for myself, I'm really into basketball. My husband went to school here, all of our children, and most of our grandchildren. So we're well familiar with the school, and I work for the school. It's a town that supports one another. It's a town that rallies together when there's needs and supports one another. And I think that's about all I can say about it.
I have watched at least 3, and probably some of that's going on 4 generations of kids playing ball. And I just enjoy basketball. My husband enjoys basketball too. So it's just something I grew up with.
Did you play yourself?
Oh, no. Oh, I predate buses, school lunch programs, girls' sports, any of those kind of things. They didn't have such a thing here. I'm old. And I can say this not only about our athletic department, but our vocal teacher has brought this vocal section of the school up. The band director we have had has been fantastic in all sports. If you look at our rack over here, there's a lot of firsts, seconds. The academic portion of it is excellent. Excellent, excellent school system.
Athletic Director and Superintendent Doug Edberg tells us what makes Centerville's system so special.
It's a great feeling to know that, yeah, Centerville education comes first, and we have great sports programs that go along with it. Definitely the state championship for the boys football team. I mean, being there one time and winning it is an amazing feat. And then just a couple years ago, winning the state championship in girls basketball, something we didn't feel we were going in to win. We were just going in to show up and play and do the best we could.
That's because just a few years prior, both their basketball and football programs lost their varsity schedules due to declining numbers.
I thought, how are we ever going to build this back up? We're fortunate enough to have some great coaches in our community that stepped up to the challenge, got a few other kids out.
Tornadoes are state champions.
Our girls just rallied and our community rallied, and what an amazing thing. And then turn around and go back again last year. I mean, being part of those state tournaments, man, what an eye-opening experience.
Ladies and gentlemen, may I present the 2024 Class B state champions, the Centerville Tornadoes.
It's been 100 years since Miss Mary McGregor's suggestion of the Purple Tornadoes won the most votes for school mascot in 1925. Despite the moniker, no tornado has ever struck within city limits. The only touchdowns happen here, at Stan Schmiedt Field, named after former student, booster, and longtime town pharmacist. But let's find out why one newspaper article began by saying about his wife, every town should have a Sherree Schmiedt.
You want to know about Sherree Schmiedt, is that correct?
Where do I start? I get a little emotional talking about Sherree D.
Sherree was the life of the community, the heartbeat of the community.
She was involved in about everything.
School organizations, churches, fundraisers.
The garden club, the Rebecca's, all the different groups. And she was a businesswoman too.
You know, she was the town historian for years.
Somebody you could go to and know she didn't have the answer, she was going to find it for you.
She was the person that people went to. People came from out of state to talk to her.
She's got a memory that is unreal. I mean, unreal.
Sherree D. Schmiedt wore a lot of hats throughout her lifetime, but her love of people and history made a lasting impact on Centerville. It all started with her parents, George and Miriam, who married in 1929 and moved to Los Angeles, where they had a baby girl in March of '31. But tragedy brought Miriam and young Sherree D. home to Centerville on the train after George's sudden death. A shoebox with his glasses, billfold, and only a few other personal items were the only things passed to his only child, but they inspired in Sherree D. a love of old things and family history. But it was after Sherree D. and her husband Stan Schmiedt took over his father's pharmacy that her love of history began to blossom.
I worked for Stan and Sherree Schmiedt for about 8 years. In talking with Sherree and going to work daily, a lot of Centerville history was ingrained in me. Her interest actually began in about 1958. She was working with her mom and a newspaper gentleman working on the 75th anniversary of Centerville. And she just loved going through the old newspapers, and her interest was piqued then. And her mother was writing that article in the newspapers. So Sherree also took that on after her mom passed.
Just a rich history of wanting to keep Centerville history alive. You know, her mother did it, and her husband and his father, you know, that was 2 generations of pharmacists for many, many years in Centerville. And I think that's where she kind of started her collection. You know, pharmacies back in the day, they weren't just your prescription drugs. They really supplied the town with everything.
Schmiedt Rexall. She had Hallmark, all the traditional stuff. I would remember going in there as a little kid, first going down the penny candy aisle, and then going around and looking at all the beautiful gifts and the greeting cards, and just spending a lot of time there, as my grandma worked there for, I think it was 44 or 45 years. And I think the first love of my retail experience and shopping and finding beautiful things came from Sherree D's collections.
Schmiedt Drug was next door from here. The next building over was a little small building, used to be a paint store. And Stan and Sherree bought that building. Now, the reason Sherree bought it was to get rid of all the stuff at her house.
That stuff he's referring to are artifacts from throughout Centerville's history.
A lot of the items from town were being sold on auction and sent to California and sold. And she goes, if this keeps going on, we won't have any record of our past. So she started collecting. I guess in the year 2000, they were planning for an all-school reunion. At that point in time, the building next door to the Schmiedt Drug was empty. So Stan said, let's put our stuff over there. So they did, and they said it would be a great room for the folks to gather when they came back for the reunion, and they'd have all the annuals available and other memorabilia. So that's when the museum actually began over there to be an organized place, and it was amazing.
I would stop in and try to learn about Centerville history myself. So I got to build a bond and a relationship with Sherree. And when she was getting ready to sell her building, felt we needed to keep that Centerville history alive and the items that she had collected over the years and just the history that she had documented on Centerville. We had been looking at another building on the same block to renovate and turn into a community space. And we were able to purchase that building, and somehow Sherree trusted me to kind of take those museum items, bring her along, and bring her into this new space to keep that history alive.
You can touch the old telephones. You can open up books and things. Sherree felt very strongly that that's what a museum was for.
I don't think she ever thought about taking credit for anything, because she always thought there was more than just her. She thought there was a group. Other towns, a lot of times this stuff is thrown away because there's no place to put it or can be seen.
She had a passion for Centerville, a deep love for it. She grew up here, and the families just meant so much to her. People meant a lot to Sherree.
You know how when you grow up, you hear names like so-and-so lived there, or that's your third cousin, or, in small towns, you have a lot of that. Being here, I've had the opportunity to take the time to get to know these people and make those connections, and I feel like that's the best gift I received from Sherree. I think she's going to be fondly remembered for years to come.
Sherree was an amazing woman, and right up to the day she died, her mind was as sharp as a tack, very clear, and she wanted to keep sharing information.
Welcome to Centerville, our hometown. It's time to reminisce and remember Centerville as it used to be, and to see what it has become.
Plenty has changed throughout Centerville's history. The railroad and the mill are long gone, as is the Broadway ballroom where Lawrence Welk played. However, one Centerville celebration has stood the test of time since 1883. Producer Greg Beasley takes us there now.
The place to be, 4th of July weekend for many people in the eastern part of South Dakota. It's been the town of Centerville.
I remember as a kid even coming over for different activities during the 4th of July festivals and things like that, and really drawing big crowds. Again, Centerville, the people of Centerville really rally around their town celebrations.
It's just the fun of everybody getting together and seeing, like now, here you got little kids getting on a little tractor and doing a pull. See all the fun they have and all the fun faces when you see how much fun they have. It just means a lot. Everybody getting together and having a good time, people getting along.
While Tornado Days may be a newer version of the annual 4th of July celebration, Main Street of Centerville has always been packed with speed.
There's a lot of car people here in Centerville. They've always kind of been a car community. So there's a lot of people that I can rely on to kind of help get the word out and pull that together. The fire department does an excellent job of that. They've since taken it on and kind of rallied around the car show idea. And so it's a full block and a half, probably 2 blocks of the downtown. Draws in a good crowd.
I dreamed of having a Mustang when I was in high school, but I could never afford anything like that. But I did when I got out of high school. I farmed and was in the National Guard for 6 years, and I worked 3 other jobs also, so I saved my money, and I always wanted to have one, and so 65 Fastback was the first year they made that style. So I always wanted to get that car. And then after that, and then I always wanted to have a convertible. So I went out and bought a new convertible too. And so we don't drive very much, but when we do, it's just my wife and I and the grandkids and everybody, and just a lot of fun.
Cars aren't the only things that move fast down Main Street during Tornado Days.
It's certainly unique to Centerville, and they've kind of been known for it for a long time, and you never forget your first time riding a toilet bowl racer. It's something that sticks with you, right? So if you can get people on one, and trying it, they're plunger powered, obviously, sitting on a toilet with wheels, it's, quite unique.
That's right, you heard that right. In Centerville, they race toilet bowls to see who is the king or kings of the throne. But how in the world did all of this start?
Well, we're asking around, and Dave Cooley is the originator, as far as we can tell. I don't remember.
Yeah, I think so.
It was Dave Cooley, and I think Roger Peterson, Louis Guthmiller, and Rob Raneedy, they kind of helped out in there.
First year was a little rough. Yeah, we learned the stuff we couldn't do. But we did get better every year after.
We got better. We were the balance thing when you make your turn was the big thing. You get your plunger, you get going so fast, and you come to make your turn.
We ride a motorcycle.
Chip over, and then you didn't win. You had to go around the pylon and come back to win.
Like most things, toilet bowl racing evolved over time and went strong for many years. After a little break, they are back in action.
Obviously, if you're going to be involved in helping set it up, you're going to try one out and see how it works and see how it goes. And yeah, it's interesting. It's fun.
With a couple of toilet bowl racers made, there was no doubt in my mind I had to try this tradition out for myself. So I grabbed my son Emmett, and with our plungers in hand, we took to the streets of Centerville, looking to be named the Porcelain Princes. And after a run or two, found out this tradition isn't all about speed. It's about making memories with who you compete with.
I would have never done it myself, and you wouldn't have. But it's just one of them things you're going to go do. You do it together, basically. Because it's, buddies doing something for fun, basically. Because we really didn't care if we won. Well, I guess we did.
Out towards the end there, yeah.
From 4th of July, we now take you to the Halloween Festival, where a new tradition includes something unusual. Kids sporting brand new tattoos, and even more making their way into Catalyst Tattoo. This is Tats for Tots, where proceeds go to charity. This annual fundraiser allows kids to sit in a real-life tattoo studio and get some temporary flash. We caught up with studio owners Stefan and Dan to talk about tattooing in a small town and what the studio's like on a regular day.
A lot of people think that, well, you have tattoos, so you must be a bad person. And that's not true. We tattoo preachers, we tattoo school teachers, all kinds of people. And like I said, for us, it's more about allowing people to add to themselves without changing themselves.
I never thought I'd fit into tattooing because I wasn't your typical,
by motorcycle, kind of, you know, bad boy type of guy. I was just, you know, pretty standard South Dakota kid. But I loved art, I had a passion for it, and it was a way to do that for a living.
So I actually met Stefan's wife first. You know, we were friends instantly, and she kept telling me about her husband that did tattoos, and I'm like, well, I'm a tattoo artist. He can't be a tattooer.
So Dan had actually met my wife before me and seen some of my tattoo work and commented on it.
And it was better than I thought it would be. You know, nowadays everybody thinks they're a tattoo artist.
At that time, I wasn't in the shop. I was working a different job.
He needed a job that would provide a stable income.
Dan was actually the one that kind of convinced me you need to get back into a shop and you need to come up in Sioux Falls. He was working in Sioux Falls at another shop at that time. And so I will give a lot of credit of me getting really back into it about the last 6-7 years now.
I kept telling him, I think you can do it. We got him moved into the shop and instantly busy. And hasn't had to go back to a real job ever since. So.
Yeah, that started a friendship and then a work relationship and then a partnership. And so I've been having to deal with him ever since.
And now you're stepbrothers.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. Kind of just decided we were ready we both live in a small community down here in Centerville and just decided bring it down here and bring our customers down here to us and just live a little better life for us.
You don't get paid for your time off. You don't get paid for the days that you don't work. So going from a place where there are constantly clients walking in to a place where there are 900 people in this town, that's not a whole lot of walk-ins. And tattoos aren't for everybody.
One of the coolest things about coming down here is I've known people my whole life living here, and I would have never thought this person would be one to come in and get a tattoo. A lot more people are comfortable with coming in here. Like people who are a little more scared or older people who don't want all the craziness of the big tattoo shop. They feel comfortable walking in here. We tattoo loads of law enforcement, actually.
Down in this part of the state versus even up in Sioux Falls, the mindset is a little different. People are more passionate about nature, passionate about family. They're more passionate about connecting to the people around them. People in this area tend to want to tell a story with their tattoos. So we get a lot of tattoos that are family names or designs for people that have passed on.
Hunting and fishing, outdoor style tattoos. Because the best thing about us being down here is one day I'm tattooing, a very naughty tattoo, and the next day I'm tattooing, a portrait of Jesus. And so you never know what's gonna walk through the door.
Lived in all kinds of different places in this area that just didn't really feel like I fit in. And then I moved to Centerville and I thought, well, it's just gonna be the same thing. And I very quickly realized that everyone here is family. Everybody here is friends with everybody else. We have the same problems in this town that every family has. We have people that get mad at each other or argue, but at the end of the day, no matter who's doing what, we all take care of each other. I like that family community atmosphere.
A block away, on the corner of Main Street and Broadway, where they used to sell clothing, furniture, and even hardware, a restaurant was built. And despite new names and changing ownership, the legacy of family and community atmosphere is as strong as ever.
It first started out as Jodine's, and that was there for quite a while. And when they moved to Yankton, then it became a couple other things before Joe and Eva Erickson purchased it and turned it into the Centerville Steakhouse.
The Ericksons chose Larry Swanson to manage the restaurant. And in 1995, he and his wife Linda bought the steakhouse and cultivated it into a community institution.
Tuesday night after a basketball game, there's people lined up to get in. They want to rehash the game, but also they knew who was going to be there to visit with and get their local gossip from. Man, Larry would come in with a smile, a joke. He was such a kind man. He hired all these kids in town and kept them busy.
On Sundays, it was more the high school kids that were working there. We didn't have to worry about the alcohol, that kind of thing. It was just one of the days that kids weren't as busy. So yes, I was one of the Sunday girls, and so was Carrie, my cousin.
I started working at the Centerville Steakhouse when I was a 7th grader and worked for Larry Swanson that entire time as a Sunday server, a weekend server, and part of his A-team catering crew.
He taught you respect, he taught you how to multitask. He got on you if you needed to get on. He showed you right from wrong. He showed you how to do your job. Yeah, he was a great person. And Linda as well. They were great, great people.
Learning waitressing and all of those things was one of my foundational things for learning how to be in the workforce and, create a career based in customer service.
Young adults learned lessons and made core memories.
I was working for Larry and Linda at the Steakhouse as one of their servers, and Doug was there too as their short order cook. My junior year, I actually asked him out to our homecoming dance. It was terrifying. It was one of the scariest things I'd ever done at the time. And he said yes, and that was kind of the beginning of our dating. So it kind of was interesting that it came full circle when we ended up purchasing the steakhouse ourselves. So we were in the steakhouse eating one night, and Larry comes over and he's like, "Hey, you two, I think you should buy the steakhouse."
We can't see this restaurant shut down. We can't see it put in the wrong hands. Did it cause some headaches and some problems along the way? Absolutely. But Larry was a lifetime mentor of mine, and we just wanted to build on his legacy there. So I turned into a principal and athletic director, and my wife took on a position at the school, and we had a lot of young kids. So we actually tried to sell the steakhouse for many years.
None of us would probably be doing this if my husband wouldn't have come up with this grand idea.
They brought me out to eat to the Centerville Steakhouse, and I found out that it was for sale, and said, "Hey Tim, why don't we buy this restaurant? It'll be fun."
Yeah. I wasn't really looking to get into the restaurant business. When him and Carrie got married, they started cooking for us. And it seemed like every time he made something for us, I had to take a picture of it before I ate it. It looked too good to eat. So I thought maybe there's a shot here that this might work.
So this whole thing is a family business. My dad, Tim, my brother, Adam, and then my husband, Eric, and I. Heather and I are cousins.
Yeah, I've been here, this will be 25 years, so I've gone through a lot of owners. I always joke around and say, I come with the building.
Who are also cousins with Jamie.
Yes.
And then actually, if you go back far enough, you will find that the Swanson and the Austins are actually related also.
We closed on it with Jamie and Doug at the end of last year, so right around this time of year, December. And our goal was to be open by the Super Bowl, but we didn't quite catch that because when we got in here and we started diving into some things, my brother Adam and my husband Eric tore out and rebuilt the bar. We took out walls, we painted and put all these TVs up. We put in the wood fire pizza oven, and so our new goal became we have to be open by the time the girls get to the state tournament. And so when we decided we were going to be a sports bar, we decided we were going to support the high school community and be like all in on sports. We're like, what else do you call it other than Tuffys? So it is everything you see around here is purple and gold, just like the gym is, and it's just an extension of the school at that point.
We got a lot of support from the community when we changed the name, but just like anything else would change, it takes a little bit of getting used to.
While the bar, the name, and most of the menu are brand new, it still has one classic crowd favorite.
Yes, we still have roasted chicken. Our biggest sellers, a lot of people come for our salmon dinners. Our chicken bacon mac is a big seller that I make, and most would be our burgers. We sell a lot of burgers.
That really was our goal, is we wanted to be a place for people to gather. We wanted to be supportive of our high schoolers and sports, band, oral and terp, whatever it is that they're doing, we want to be in on it.
This place needs to always stay here, always, no matter if it's changing ownership or not. Yeah, this place is Centerville.
Thank you for watching Dakota Life. If you've missed any of our stories here in Centerville or just want to go back and take another look, you can visit us at sdpb.org/Dakota Life. For all of us at SDPB here in Turner County, my name is Tim Davison. We'll see y'all next time.